An excited civilian appeared with the news that Chinese Army patrol had entered his settlement and ordered all the civilians to evacuate their houses because 10,000 Chinese troops needed shelter.
In one of the greatest troop movements in history, 150,000 communist Chinese regulars had marched through Manchuria undetected and surrounded the 1st Marine Division at the Chozen Reservoir, which is known to Marines as Changjian. Private First Class Robert Cameron was there.
I heard this racket down the slope. It was like the sound of Chinese birthday party, wedding, and the funeral all rolled into one. People chanting, blowing horns, ringing bells, clashing cymbals, beating drums.
At 2:30 in the morning, during a blinding snowstorm, with the temperature jamming rifles and freezing hands at 20 below zero, the Chinese struck.
When the illumination rounds popped overhead, I saw a whole lot of people headed our way. I'm telling you, there were 1,000 individuals down there in massed infantry formation.
When dawn finally came, and the fury of Marine fighter planes arrived to drive off the surviving Chinese, the Marines on the ground had suffered enormous casualties, but their positions held. For 3 days and nights, things only got worse. The demonic cold and ferocious Chinese attacks exacted terrible tolls. The threat of annihilation hung over the Chozen Marines. These were hardships that few Americans had ever endured. Task Force Faith, the Army forces on the east side of the reservoir, were cut off and nearly annihilated. Those who escaped did so across the ice. The ferocity of Task Force Drysdale's journey through Hellfire Valley, where a combined force of U.S. Marines, Army, and British Royal Marines was savagely battered by Chinese forces holding the surrounding high ground. And the epic stand and rescue at Top Kong Pass, where the 250 Marines of Fox Company held a crucial high mountain pass for 5 days against an enemy regiment. Relief finally came from a battalion of Marines led by Lieutenant Colonel Raymond G. Davis, who fought their way through blizzard conditions in the dark at wind chills of 50 below zero to bushwhack across the wild mountain ridges and reinforce the Marines of Fox Company and release the Marines trapped to the north. Lieutenant Colonel Davis.
Some fellow Marines were in trouble. We were going to rescue them, and nothing was going to stand in our way.
The Marines counterattacked and fought their way clear of every ambush and penetration. Every Marine gave his all. Every inch would be a fight for their very existence. Private First Class Wen Scott remembers.
There were bodies strapped on the barrels of artillery, on the sides of trucks, across hoods, anywhere there was space. The wounded guy next to me froze to death the second night.
As the column blasted its way mile by mile down the goat path of the road, in the bleak skies overhead, the Marine Air Ground Team revealed its full potential like never before. Diving into the canyons, strafing, bombing, and dropping napalm on any and everything that threatened their fellow Marines on the ground. After 15 days of some of the most brutal conditions and fighting any warriors have ever faced, the Marines, their dead, their wounded, reached Hangnam and the sea.
You figured nothing over here next?
We know they like to make a big noise in one direction and then attack from another. They're bound to transform our flank over here hard, just like last night. Make sure your bayonet's fixed good.